Life is part of being human. So that's not going to stay. But the thing that will stay is a woman who fears the Lord, and she has the ability to leave a legacy. And that's what I want to talk about today. So before I go on, say it with me. Here we go. Charm is deceptive, beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. Growing up, I was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I've already told you that my granddads were Pentecostal pastors. My parents were deacons in the church. You know, I went to catechism and Bible studies and the whole nine, sang in the choir. But around the age of 8, I noticed that I wasn't the cutest. I was told by other people I wasn't the cutest. I wasn't the smartest. I was a bedwetter, a stutterer, a thumbsucker. You name it, I was it probably. And my sister, the one that's right above me in age, she hated sleeping with me because she would go to bed dry. She would go to bed dry and wake up wet and not knowing what happened. And she would point to me and say, "You did it again. I'm going to tell you did it again." It was me. So I grew up under this. And every day on the city bus, my sisters and I, we would ride. There would be some girls on the back of the bus. They would laugh and call us names every day. And they talk about our hair and our clothes. And our name was homemade to them. And I remember carrying this around in my heart, but I had a hope in my heart that although I may look this way, although I might be a stutterer, although I might be a fast talker, that I'd heard stories about people in the Bible that God had taken ordinary people and did something extraordinary with their lives. And I had been told that this same God back then was the same God now. And so if he was able to do that, he could still do this. And so around that same time at the age of 8, on a Friday night after church, I was sitting in church, and I don't know what I was doing, probably chewing gum, talking, passing notes, you know what kids do. And my dad had promised he's going to give me a whooping. Y'all know what whoopings are? They're not spankings. You know, spankings are like, "Little Johnny, didn't I tell you not to do that?" That's a spanking. Whoopings have a song with it. They're like, "Didn't I tell you not to do that?" That's a whooping. I didn't want none. So I was saying, "Okay, Lord, I know for the past 2 weeks, you've been knocking on my little heart's door. Whenever they give the altar call, my heart would be beating like boom, 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 boom. He's talking to me." But I was like, no, because, Lord, they're teaching in our church that the age of 12, 4 more years, is the age of accountability. I got 4 more years of sinning. You know, I ain't trying to give it up yet. So the first week went by, I didn't give him my life. The second week came around. The preacher gave the altar call. I was like, I still got 4 more years. But then my dad was like, "Oh, you're going to get a whooping when we get home." I was like, "I got a deal for you, Lord. I got a deal. If you get me out of this whooping tonight," so we're in the back of the car, "if you get me out of this whooping, then I'm going to give you my life." That's going to be the deal. So that night we go home, and normally, you know, my dad, you know, he would bring it up like we parents can do when our kids are in trouble. "Oh, you going to get it. Oh, you going to get it. Yeah, wait till we get home, you going to get it." Well, this night he didn't say anything. God gave him amnesia. I went upstairs, put my little PJs on, and I was ready to jump into bed. Then I had remembered I had made a deal with God. And I was like, "Okay, Lord." I love to say this, y'all. Since he always keeps his promises, I knew I had to keep mine. So that night, after my dad had gone to bed and forgotten about it all, I got on my little knees, and I said the best prayer that an 8-year-old could muster up. I can't remember the exact words, but I remember asking God to come into my heart, to forgive me of my sin. I knew I was a sinner. I knew I was born a sinner like I was born an American. This is how I was born. And so I knew the only way to eradicate this sin from my life, from my body, from my destiny, was for me to accept what Jesus Christ had done on the cross for me over 2,000 years ago. And so that night I gave him my sin. I gave him my hopelessness. I asked him to use me and to take my life and to do something good for him. And somewhere between my dear God, y'all, and my amen, I know that God of heaven heard me. And he changed my life. And I remembered getting up off my little knees, and we had an old typewriter. Now I'm really dating myself. No, we had a Mac computer. It's like, no, we didn't. No, we had a typewriter. It was old. And so I remember pecking out, "As of this day, I will never be the same. Jesus Christ has come into my life, and he has changed me." And I felt like this weight had been lifted off of my soul. I felt like it was the birth of hope for me. And so going back to the days of, or forward to the days of being made fun of on the bus, I had this hope still on the inside that regardless of what was going on around me, on the outside of me, regardless of what was being told to me. It didn't have to get inside of me. It could bounce off of me because I had the hope of Christ.